Okay guys, in today's video I am going to be answering your guys' questions about our generator, about having it inside, some pros and cons to it all, and how we kind of messed up and maybe you can learn from our mistakes. So let's just dive right in because I got a lot to cover. I've got my notebook here, so I cover absolutely everything. This is kind of a part 2 to the things that I would change about my van if we built it again. If you don't know, we built a DIY mobile dog grooming van. If you haven't seen any of those videos, I will link the playlist down below. If you're going to build your own van, you might find those very helpful. The type of generator that I have in my van is a Honda Electric Start 5000. It is a EM 5000 SX, and when we bought it, we paid $3,147.54. That is without tax. And I will also mention that I'm in Canada and we bought it a year ago, so in 2019. The most commonly asked questions that I get about the generator, and just the most commonly asked questions I get about the van DIY itself, is why we put the generator inside, how we vented it, how it works with it being inside with CO2 levels, etc. So I'm going to cover all of that right now. So first of all, I want to go over why we actually put the generator inside. The Honda brand generators are not designed to be in an enclosed area. So when lots of people see that in our van reveal video, they get very concerned. Now, the Onan generators can be in an enclosed space if they are boxed in properly and vented properly. So first I want to go over why I chose to put the generator inside and how we are able to do that. Since we were going with a Honda generator, my options were to put it inside and figure out how to vent it outside, to put it on a hitch on the back, or to put it inside but have it on a slide out tray. I didn't like the idea of having it on a hitch because I didn't like how it looked, and also we would probably have to take the generator on and off of the hitch every single day, so it wasn't just sitting in our driveway where people could mess with it and it's exposed to our brutal winter weathers. We'd probably either have to cover it up at night or move it every single night so nobody would potentially steal it, because it is an expensive piece of equipment and so it doesn't get damaged, etc. So I didn't like the hitch idea. The slide out tray, in my mind, I didn't like having to slide it in and out between every single client and then having to have one of the back doors propped open because you have to slide it out. I didn't like the look of that. I didn't like the idea of that. The generator's quite heavy, so I didn't know if I would be able to slide it out on the tray. So to me, I was like, well, let's just figure out how we can vent it and have it inside. What I didn't realize, and I guess was a miscommunication, is that having it inside, I ended up still having to have one of my back doors propped open. I was used to working out of a Wagon Tails van before, and it had an Onan generator. So none of the doors had to be propped open. It was inside its little enclosed box. Nobody saw it. I thought that's how it was going to be with my Honda generator, but turns out it wasn't. So looks wise, I still have to have my back door propped open. That is why I chose to have the generator inside the back area where all of the equipment is. Was that a good idea in the end? Just stay tuned to find out. Another commonly asked question I get about my generator is, can it run all of my equipment at once, the one that we picked out? And the answer is no. If you watch the things I would change about my van video, you will know that I am not able to run the dryer and the AC at the same time. Sometimes it'll let me, but most of the time it will blow a breaker, so then I have to get out of the van while I'm grooming a dog, go to the back and flip the breaker back on that is on the generator. It flips the generator breaker, not the breakers on our breaker panel. So the type of dryer that I have is a K9 2-speed, and then I have a Dometic rooftop AC. So they both just draw way too much power to run at the same time. Previous video that I just mentioned about changes I would make, we could remedy that by having the AC be hooked up to either a separate battery or the van battery itself. And that's something we may do in the future. But this summer I just kind of dealt with it. Every time I'd use the dryer, I would just turn off the AC for a bit and use just my portable fan. But the answer is no. There are some things I can't run all at the same time because it just takes too much power. Same with the little space heater that I have in there and the dryer. Sometimes it'll trip the breaker. Let's get into having the generator inside the working area instead of me putting it on a hitch or having it on a slide out tray. Let's talk about the pros and the cons of this decision. The pros are it fits on our driveway, which is where the van is parked when I'm not using it. If we had a hitch on the back, it might hang over onto the sidewalk. And once again, we would probably have to take the generator on and off every single night just to prevent it from getting vandalized or somebody stealing it. Going along with that, it is protected from the elements at night when it gets super cold and snowy and rainy and gross. I think another pro is that having it inside a little bit enclosed, even though I have to work with one of the back doors open, is that it cuts down on the noise a little bit because it's enclosed a little bit. But the cons of having the generator inside my back equipment area is that you do have to make sure that none of the exhaust is getting into your working area and causing problems with CO2. So you have to have a detector in there. When we first finished the conversion, a CO2 detector in the working area would go off. So we had to remedy how it was welded out the bottom of the van, which I'll get into in a second. And also we filled lots of little gaps anywhere in the wall between my working area and the back equipment area to make sure that CO2 doesn't get in there because it can be very dangerous for you and the dogs. In the end, it ended up working out, but it was a little kink in the beginning that we had to figure out. The next con to me is I still have to have that back door open. For whatever reason, in my mind, it was gonna be closed like a wagon tails. Nobody would see any of my equipment in the back. Nobody would see the generator. I would be able to have it fully closed, but that is not the case. I gotta have one of those doors open. Sometimes when it gets really windy and if the wind is blowing in the right direction, the back van door will close on me. And a couple times, I mentioned in my previous video, I've drove away with the back door open and then people have to flag me down and tell me that the back door is open. My husband's gonna kill me for that. But it has happened. Just being in a rush or getting back into the van around the front of the van instead of the back of the van. Also another con is that in the beginning, it would heat up and split the hoses in the back. So I mentioned this in the previous video, the hoses that we had to put on from my clipper vac, my dryer, and my shop vac, they weren't heat proof or heat resistant. So the generator would heat it up so much back there in the summer when it was like plus 30 and it split the hoses. So we did remedy that by just switching to a heat resistant hose. So that fixed that problem. Another con, as you can see, there's a lot of cons. Another con is that in summer when it's already hot outside, the generator heats it up in that back area and it overheats the clipper vac. So sometimes during some point in the day, my clipper vac will stop working on me because it gets so hot and it's mounted right above the generator. The last con is that it heats up my dryer. So my dryer is in the back above my clipper vac. So again, in summer when it's already hot outside, and then the generator is running in there, it's pushing all that heat up towards the dryer. So inside my working area, my dryer is sometimes blowing really warm air. So I have to give it breaks every now and then so it doesn't get too hot. Comparing the pros and the cons, when I get messages about should I put my generator inside the back area or should I just have it on a hitch or a slide out tray, honestly, I now tell people that just save yourself the headache of figuring out all of these extra things and just put it on a slide out tray because you're gonna have to have your back door open anyways. I will say that it is possible to have your generator in the back of your van. We worked out all the kinks and it works great for me now. So I'm gonna talk about how it's secured and how it works in case you do wanna move forward with this option. The generator itself is bolted to the van. It sits on a rubber mat just to help with the vibration of the generator and so that doesn't go into the working area and it isn't as loud. There is a hole cut in the bottom of the van and that is how it is vented out and then exhausted under the bottom of the van. So we had to cut a hole and weld it. If you're gonna do this, make sure you get somebody that knows what they're doing with welding. And then also something that we are going to add, I think this month, is a muffler just to cut down on the noise. That is another question that I get about this generator. Is it really loud? It is loud, I would say. You can hear it while you're working. I definitely can hear it, but the muffler we're gonna put on the exhaust is gonna help with that. And I honestly don't think it's that loud. It doesn't disturb the dogs that I'm grooming. They all seem fine with it. So I would say that you can hear it. It's not as quiet as I said before, an Onan that I worked with before. There is noise there, but it's not that bad. And then just general how our generator works with our electrical. All of the equipment itself is hardwired into the breaker panel. My husband did this himself. He said it was super easy just knowing general electrical work, and one day we hope to make a bit more of a breakdown about how I did the electrical and the plumbing. And then that breaker panel plugs into the generator. It has an electric start, which my husband wired so that I can start it from the inside of the van. I just crank a key on the inside of my working area, so I don't have to start the van from the outside right on the generator. It also does have a backup pull start. I tried to use this once when it was like a -40 day, my very first dog of the day, and the generator wasn't warmed up. It wouldn't turn over with the electric start. But I am honestly, personally, way too weak to start that generator with a pull start, but I just kept trying the electric start and eventually it started up. I have never, in the year that we've had it, had any issues with it not starting on me, even when it's super hot out or when it is brutally cold out. Just that one day it took an extra few tries. I did try the pull start, but again, that was useless for me to do, but it did eventually start and it worked the rest of the day. Another question that I get about the generator is about how much gas that I go through. So it does run on regular gas, and I would say, I can't tell you exactly how much gas I go through, but I have never ran out of gas in a day using it, and I've worked full days before. When I wasn't pregnant, I would do about 4 to sometimes 6 dogs a day. If it was 6, it was all small dogs, but generally I'd do about 4 to 5 dogs a day. Sometimes I would get close to running out of gas, but I've never actually ran out of gas in the generator and had to top up. So the price that you're gonna spend on gas is gonna depend on the price of gas in your area, and also how many dogs you're doing per day and if you're running out of gas every day or not. Also, based on the owner's manual, we have to change the oil in the generator based on how many hours you use it. So that works out to be about every month and a half sort of thing. So that's also going to depend on how much you use the generator. The last thing that I'm going to mention, in case you haven't watched the video that I keep referencing about what I would change on our van conversion, is that some of you may ask, why didn't we just go with batteries? You can run all of your equipment off essentially car batteries and have no noise and none of this headache. And we decided not to do that. It gets so cold here. We just didn't think that they would end up lasting us. We'd end up having to spend more money replacing batteries all the time. But if you are in Canada and you found a way to run your van or your trailer off of batteries and it works for you and you don't have to replace them all the time, please leave a comment down below because I would love to hear about that, and so you can help out anybody else watching this video. I hope you guys found this video helpful today. I really wanted to be honest and transparent about the struggles and the triumphs that we went through putting our generator inside the van, because it is my most commonly asked question, and I know lots of you guys have based your conversion off of ours. We are not experts in this. This is the first time we have ever built a van, and we just kind of wung it off the knowledge that we have. Honestly, my husband's knowledge, I have no knowledge in plumbing and electrical and those sorts of things. If you have any questions about the generator or our van that I haven't covered in this video, please leave them in the comments down below. I'll try my best to get back to you, and I encourage you to watch that other video if you are about to do a van conversion yourself. I will link the playlist down below of all of our van conversion videos. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button down below as I upload new videos every single week. See you next time, guys.